It'll be great if you turn on the camera because I can see you and then we can interact, okay? Whenever I speak and I give any talks, I like to make it interactive rather than teaching because teaching never works, all right? So I'm not going to teach you anything, but we are going to learn from each other. Everyone okay with that? All right. And then is it okay to be open and say things that you want to say rather than holding it back? Good with that? Okay. Because I don't know any other way. All right. At 57, I don't work for money anymore. I work to make an impact. So I work in SAP as a senior director for change management. I am I have stayed away from this agile, safe, and lean and scrum and all of that 6 years ago. And when somebody talks about story point, I feel nostalgic, more like, yeah, it's like, yeah, they're talking about story points in 2024. So it gives me a pleasure, sometimes pain. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to start sharing my screen, but we are going to talk to each other. Good with that? Okay. And I won't, I won't keep talking, otherwise you'll fall asleep, and that won't happen. So you are going to ask me questions as we go through, all right? Because I want you to internalize this and then start using it tomorrow when you start actually working with your teams or leadership. Yeah. Okay. So at SAP, my job is it's very political job because I work with top three layers of the hierarchy. That is where I generally deal with, which is more strategic political work, organizing and creating alignment, that sort of work which I do today. I don't teach safe or agile or scrum anymore. Those days are over. Okay. Yeah. So when you transition from that place to a different place, it's a different challenges that you face through. Okay. I'm going to share my screen and let me know if you can see it. And please speak up because I'm not a mind reader yet. I'm going to learn that skill very soon. But if you speak, then I can understand what's going on. Okay. So I will share my screen from here. All right. And if you see my screen, let me know.
Yes, I see it.
Okay. Very good. Okay. Anka, can you see my screen? Okay.
Yep.
See, I still keep my 15-year-old picture because I still look young in that picture, and no gray hair, nothing. So it still works for me. And I try to keep my body shape the same way because I can still fit in that cloth. I don't have money to buy another coat, and that's why I work out. All right. So, how many of you have heard about ACMP or CCMP? Anybody? If no, then say no, then I will tell you what it is. Okay. Just like we have project management, like PMP, and everybody heard about PMP, right? PMP, PMI. So PMI is a certification, right? And sorry, PMP is a certification, PMI is an institute, right? The same way, ACMP is an institute, CCMP is a certification. ACMP is Association of Change Management Professional, and CCMP is Change Management Professional Certification. Understood? Okay, so there is a framework around change management through which you have to go through, and there is a training that you have to take so that you can become CCMP. All right. And I started a company called Lead Change 360 because I think leadership is important for change management. And my focus of Lead Change 360 is leadership and change management. And then I'm also a qualified education provider. That is, when I teach somebody, they are qualified to be a CCMP. Got it? Any question on this?
No, good. Thank you.
Okay, good. All right. I will just quickly go through the agenda and let me know if you want something more, okay? Because I can give you something more than this. Okay. Leadership and change management. All of you are interested in that topic? All right. Lean Agile practitioners and change management. How does it really work? Okay. Story mapping. Good with that? Okay. But story mapping with a twist, not the same what you saw in your previous life. Okay. story mapping with change management. Anything that you want to add here, anything that you want to take out so that I can fabricate the course?
Okay, but I really want to see what you have before I want to ask for more.
Okay, what comes to your mind?
But since I started speaking, you're the expert, right? But as far as I know, that's different change framework. That there's ADKAR, there's CARDA, change curve. So there may be different schools of thought. What will you be presenting today?
Oh, okay. I will show you what I'm presenting as we go through. See this? I will show you that. No problem. Okay. Any other question? Anything that is coming to your mind before I start this? Okay. All right. I generally show this picture. What comes to your mind when you see this picture? What is your thought? Speak up, please. And this is not a modern art. Just say something.
Hardship.
Okay. Anything else?
We're lost in the wilderness.
Lost in the wilderness. Okay. What else? Very good.
Reaching the top.
Reaching the top. All right. Very nice. What else do you see?
Support.
Support. Like it. Okay. One more.
Small group. Just two people, small group.
Just two people. Okay. Just last one.
I see a challenge and a potential for self-realization.
All right. Okay. So now I'm going to decipher this modern art. Okay. So there is a Sherpa who has not gone to Cornell or any MIT or any other institute, but he or she, whatever that Sherpa is, has gone through this path many times. He or she doesn't have to have a Mercedes or Lamborghini, but he is the leader because he knows the path. The same way, I'm your Sherpa on this particular course. I'm not highly educated or experienced or rich than you. Only thing is I have gone through this path. So I will just take you through this path. All right. I'm your Sherpa for this particular session. Got it? So we will go through that journey. Okay. So when I say this to my leadership, they feel, okay, he's not competing with me. He's my Sherpa for this particular session. Okay. Then the competition goes away. Okay. All of you have seen this, right? Dunning and Kruger effect?
Yep.
Okay. I will explain, okay, for people who have not seen it. So when we go through certain courses and when we do that course, a lot of people feel, I know everything. Yeah, I know SAFe, I know Agile, I know Scrum, I know everything. Yeah, so that they go through that. And then whatever they think they know is what they know. And they feel they know everything. But then as they start learning more and more and more, they feel, there is more to that. There is more to that. There is more to that. And at one point you feel, you don't know anything. But somebody who knows, really knows what lean is, what Agile is, what Scrum is, what Kanban is, they know, hey, trust me, it's complicated. It's not easy to put Scrum team together. It's not easy to put Kanban together. Make sense?
Yep.
How many times have you seen that, right? Where people go to SAFe training and then leadership says, go, start your train. Go, do PI planning. Have you seen that kind of a model? Right? How many times have you seen that people are doing ceremonies for the sake of ceremonies, but they're not really seeing the value of those particular ceremonies, right?
Yeah, that's common.
Right. Anything that comes to your mind from your own experience from this? Anything that comes to light? What have you seen?
Well, okay, I'm working on a talk or maybe a paper where I'm diving into this, that some people think they know Scrum and 3-5-3.
Right.
But Sutherland said that the Magnificent Seven is in Scrum, but they're just in the V phase, Shuhari, and their Scrum look nothing like the 3-5-3. So they may have gone through this entire curve and are at the point where they can improvise and just embed it.
And sometimes we become the victim of this curve, where we know something and we think we know everything.
Yes.
All right. All of you have seen this many times, right? Only thing which I changed is working software. I don't think software is the only thing that you can do in Agile ways of working. So I say working anything over comprehensive documentation. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be software anymore. Make sense? It can be marketing department. It could be law. It can be anything. Yeah? Got it? Okay. I'm not going to read through those 12 principles. But only thing which is important is the number 12, right? But how many times do we see that retrospectives are not done the way it should be done, and it becomes a chore, not something which we can improve? Make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. See, when all this came, there was no Scrum or Safe or that sort of thing, right? Why do you think this Safe came when we had all these 12 principles? What happened? I'm not against Safe, all right? I was taught by Dean Laughingwell, so I'm not against Safe. Why do you think Safe came in the picture?
Well, paying to scale, right? So you want to scale. That's where Safe comes in.
Right. But Scrum can also be scaled, no?
Yeah, there's Scrum at scale, there's less, there's various scaling frameworks.
Correct, yes. And the Scrum itself, it's what? Up to 9 people, right?
Yeah, but then you have Scrum at scale.
Agree. No, totally agree. But if we're talking pure Scrum, it's just 9 people, right? But if you want to scale, then as you mentioned, there are other frameworks besides Safe.
Yeah. So when you see these 12 principles, there is lack of control or project management. Where you see when you talk about scale as a framework, there is a method to that madness. And then you have a control. It becomes more project managerial, and then people feel safe there. Not scale agile framework, but a lot of leadership feels safer now because there is a structure to this madness. And that's how they market, right? They say, oh, there's a PI planning, there is a cadence, 3 months, and the PI, the events, and all of that, right? So it becomes a structure wherein this becomes a wild west. They don't know why people are coming together. They don't know when they're going to come together. And that's how they started marketing all these frameworks. Whenever you talk about leadership, this person is very important, Warren Bennis. I don't know if you have heard about him. I would suggest this good book called as On Becoming a Leader. That's a really, really good book to read if you want to get into the leadership circle. It will tell you how leadership should be, how leadership can be, and you can speak to leaders like you are the chief of the leaders. Okay, so go for that book if you can really buy that book on leadership, on becoming leader. There is one more book I would highly recommend to buy tonight. I'm not an author of this book, but it's called as Can You Trusted Advisor, with the umbrella on top of that, if you can see. Buy this book tonight and read the last 25-30 pages first. Don't read the book from the beginning. Read the book from the last 25-30 pages, not from the beginning. Every book I read, read book from the last 25-30 pages. If it is good, only then I read the full page. So because last 25-30 pages are the ones where you summarize and conclude the book, and that's the way. So Trusted Advisor, really, really good book if you really want to make a dent in the leadership.
It's a really good point. Like a lot of books build up with some introductory material and sort of set the stage. And if you have read similar things, that's not where the value is. And then they build up for it, and then they have the finale and the conclusion. And so, but how did you learn that trick of reading backwards?
Oh, because I am writing a book called Leadership Manual. That's the reason. Okay. So, all right. So 2 books, On Becoming a Leader, buy tonight, and the Leadership Trusted Advisor, buy tonight. Worth every single penny. Okay. All right. Anybody has seen this model before? Okay. Anybody has seen this model before? I will explain this model. This model will make or break anything in change. Okay. So I will explain you one step by step. Okay. Do you believe any external environment, such as political, economical structure, can change the individual? Make sense? if there is a political issue, economical issue, or any other issues that will change or impact us, make sense? Yeah. If the economy is bad, then there is job loss, and then it impacts us, right? Now, this leadership is in the transformational change, but this management is in the transactional change. What does it mean? I will tell you. Every time you talk about any leadership, leadership is responsible for creating mission, vision, and strategy. Make sense? Okay. And leadership is also important to create the culture of the company. What is a culture? In short, culture is how you program your company, right? Culture is not about it's coming from India or Japan or China. That is not culture. Culture is the way of working, how we get work done. That's a culture. Okay. The definition of culture by psychologists is culture is a programming of mind. Okay. How do you program your mind is a culture. When you come to America for 25, 30 years, you become kind of American. It becomes programming of mind. Clear?
Okay. Yeah, I thought in my mind, culture is a set of values, but that's fine.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, set of values, but then set of values and the belief system changes when you change in a particular country and adapt to that particular country. So imagine this: if I was born in Japan, right? But I look Indian, so a lot of Uber people ask me, Uber drivers ask me, "Hey, you look like you're from India," and I say, "No, I'm from Japan." All right. So if you're born in Japan, even though I look Indian, I'm going to adapt all Japanese value. Make sense? So when you are in that particular environment, your brain is programmed that way. So it becomes the value, that belief system that you actually are programmed with, and that is how it is done. So then leadership actually creates that environment for which you can sustain, but your management, the middle layer, is actually creating that transactional layer between you and the management and the leadership. Now, this particular layer, the point which I'm showing, is the backbone of every transformation. So whenever you bring any change, it is going to impact all these layers automatically. Think about your department change. Think about your board change, and it will change a lot of these pieces no matter what. If people start laying off, if company starts laying off people, you can see the motivation is gone, benefits are in trouble. You don't know what the skills and tasks are needed, right? We are impacted. All this becomes a problem. So whenever you do any change, all these factors are important to take care of. Make sense? Very, very important model. Paste it on your desktop. And whenever you do any change, think about all these pieces. If I'm doing any change, where is it impacting? Why is it impacting? What is the reason? Think about all of that. All right. Okay. All right. So what happens generally? People are sent to any courses and they expect results. Leadership expect results, right? They send people to courses and they expect results. For leadership, I ask them this question. If you don't create an environment for people to succeed, then you can't create that behavior that you're expecting from people. I will give you an example. If I was born in a very poor family, then my environment is very poor. Makes sense? But then I don't have TV, I don't have internet, I don't have all of that, right? Then my behavior would be to steal something because I don't have money. I have to steal something, I have to beg. Make sense? Yeah? Because my environment is telling me to steal, beg, do something wrong, sell drugs or whatever. So my actions are different because my environment is different, my behavior is different, my action is different. Makes sense? And because my behavior and actions are different, the results are going to be different. But if I was born in a very rich family, I would have a lot of buildings and I would be a president of this country and my result would be different. Make sense? So it all depends on where your environment is, what's your behavior, what's your action. Only then you will get the results. The same way, before leadership expects any results from you, they have to first understand, are they creating the right environment? Are they creating the right behavior from the people? And are they expecting the right action so that we can get the right results? Does that resonate with you? And does it make sense? Any thoughts?
I think that maybe they would have control on the environment, but the behavior is not something you can control, because people react differently to different things. I mean, exactly the example you gave now with the poor family and rich family. Like, there are kids that come out very well and succeed and get to have like a balanced life and have achievements and results coming from a poor family. Then you can also have the other type of examples, right? Even if you come, like, you have the right environment and support and whatever from the parents, but you might go sideways. So
correct. There's always an exception, but at least leadership should try to create that environment of trust, psychological safety, right? And empowering other people. If you don't create that, then people won't behave properly.
I give an example. I strongly believe in this. So when I'm sent in to coach an agile team and they expect them to work faster or better, and I see that the team is too large, it's not cross-functional, it had too many dependencies out, that they have incentive to individual behavior instead of good for the team, right? I see all these systemic impediment with the environment, and I tell management we need to fix those. I can coach the team all day long, but the environment is not conducive for agile behavior.
Anybody else?
I have a question. Now that most of the companies are adapting the remote work culture, so how big is the environment or environmental changes like we are talking about, like, or how do you define environmental controlling the environment or environment change in terms of a work from home or a remote working standpoint?
See, here it is. Working from home, I think it's more work, for at least for me.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
So I'll give an example. My company is German company, SAP. I get up every day at 4 o'clock. My meeting starts at 5. Every day. Not a single day missed so far. 3 years.
wow.
So is it about the environment in which, where I'll give you an example where sometimes you have to create an environment. So
right.
I've always have had a boss who is not a boss, but who is more like my companion for his success. So this is how I say, if you want to be successful, allow me to help you. Allow me to help you to be successful. So if your boss is not right, then I don't think they should go for agile mindset or agile ways of working. If there is no environment for agile, then I think they should not just do agile, period. Because it doesn't work otherwise. It becomes a chore, it becomes a task. It doesn't become agile company.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm myself a strong believer that working from office is like strengthening the team in terms of culture and behavior. Yeah.
If you go to your office, but all of the members are working outside, then if there is nobody from office that you're working with, then what is the point to go to office? That becomes a question.
No, we've been insisting, we've been trying to bring people hybrid again, there are different engagements at the team level. If you think of different hierarchies, let's start from the bottom. You have developers and programmers or tech leads who run the Agile, right? So at the engagement level, say we are talking about strategic items. At the leadership level, it's definitely this is my perspective. It's definitely working from office, meeting together. In fact, that brings a positive vibe as well. So the energy you share among different people, and then the energy when you talk in person is totally different from remote working. So for strategic items and leadership decisions, for all this, we strongly recommend to do it in an office in a hybrid mode. And then there are like other like regular works, right? So the team who are like more into technical team, operational team, there we are like giving some cushion. Okay, you can do complete remote or even hybrid for them. So that's the idea.
Yeah, what we see in SAP is they were forcing us to come, but then they realized that force is not going to work.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
It's not going to work, and it's still hybrid now. It's still not 100% coming to work anymore.
Yeah, pandemic changed everything. So,
yeah,
drastic shift.
Yeah, so more than that, there is, if company wants to do Agile right, then the environment should be right for Agile setup. For example, I was consulting at Google, and then after Google engagement is done, people ask me, "Hey, can you replicate what Google did, and can you do that here?" I said, "No, you can't do that. Google environment and your environment is different. There is a 5-course meal every day, but people don't go there to eat. People go there to work, and they're so crazy they can even sleep in the office and keep working, and they're crazy about their work. That sort of environment you need to create Google. It's not that you can't just mimic something. Yeah. Okay. All right. So when we talk about change is about going from current state to any state, right? It can be positive change, it can be negative change, it can be anything. So whenever you change from current state to a new state, it's a change. Make sense? All right. So whenever we go through change from a current state to a future state, we go through the transition state. All of you agree to that? Okay. And all the action happens during the transition state. That is emotions, actions, crying, bitching about the boss. All of that happens during transition state. Make sense? Yeah. You can even imagine you're changing one house from one house to another house. Yeah. You can see the transition state between you and your husband or a wife. It'll be different. Yeah. There are a lot of emotional imbalances that goes on. So what is change management is? There is a particular process through which you manage that change. There is a structured process through which you manage the change. It is not just because we want to change, we will just send out an email. So a lot of people think communication is change management, but communication is only one small part of change management. Clear? Okay. So if you see this black line shows that whatever you want to change, you can change, but it'll take some time, and you never know what will happen to the change. There is no success or failure guarantee. But when you have somebody who understands the change, then there is a green line. The change can happen much faster. And that is what change management professionals do, because they understand what are the steps that are needed for change management. Okay. This is a definition from ACMP. A practice of applying structured approach to transition organization from the current state to the future state to get the benefit that we are looking for, for the benefit realization. Okay. Any question on this? Got it? Clear? No problem? Okay. Everybody has seen this, no? Unfreeze, change, freeze. Anybody has not seen this before?
I've seen variations of it, not quite like this.
Okay. So if you see the William Bridges model, they say that there is some zone where you have to let go, then you go through the change, and then there is a new beginning. The same way, Kurt Lewin says, whenever you want to change, first you have to unfreeze that change, make the change, and freeze that change again. And that is what. So very, very similar model. And if you see, this is also very similar. You're saying unfreeze, change, and more freeze. Okay, so all the models go through these 3 steps, which are freeze, unfreeze, and then you change. Okay. There is a very good book on change management. Look at this, Transitions. Transition is a very good book on change management. Transitions. So when we go through that curve that we actually saw, people go through various ways of emotional imbalance, and then some people actually live in that particular change. Hey, we can't take this change anymore. This is not going to work anymore. And then they get frustrated. They just leave. But then some people hang on to that, and then they see the new way of changing. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to go to story map in 1 minute. Okay. Any questions so far based on this particular model? All of you agree that this is what happens during any change?
Well, I guess different people are different, right? So, some may skip this all variety of emotions, right? So, but the variety of emotions probably correct, right? So population of people or team, somebody in a team would experience one kind of emotion, and another might experience another one, and all population of those emotions probably on this chart. That's my take.
Yeah. Tell you the worst case scenario. Okay, the top leadership expect management to go from here to here very quickly. The middle layer management, they expect them to go here to here very quickly. But they don't understand that they also have to go through this particular stages. No, they say that, oh, we are going to make that change. You understand the change and go here, jump quickly, because you have to navigate all these people together. All right, but they are also people. There is also emotion, but they don't see that.
And are you working, like in your organization, for example, do you work with people through the curve? Like, do you find
all the time? All the time.
I'm curious, like, what do you do? Like, how do you move them to, I can see myself in the future?
Yeah. So see, there is a trouble here. I'll tell you what the trouble is. So a lot of times, top management just push the change, force the change. They don't do the evaluation. That is, what is the impact? What will happen to people? What emotions they will go through? They don't take them through that journey of, let's do our change together. They don't do that. They enforce the change. And when they enforce the change, that becomes more work for us. Then it takes longer time than before, because now they are forcing it. But now you have to take them step by step. That is, yes, we are doing it. What's in it for you? And then bring them together, create a change management team, and then socialize that change with all the departments. All this steps they miss altogether. So that communication is the only thing that they do, but they don't actually manage the emotions of the people to take them through that transition. And that is where they fail. And that becomes, the moment you start losing the trust of people, they won't come to you. So there is something called as campaign management. Just like people do this campaigning for elections, there is a campaign management, which is a part of the change management, which leadership don't do. Now they have to start socializing that and make them understand and take that step by steps, the process step, which we generally mention to them. Then you see the less resistance. See, when people resist, there is a reason for resistance in change. That resistance is not bad. There is a messaging in that. And leadership don't listen to that resistance. They see that they are resisting because they don't want that change. But why they don't want change? They don't understand that. And then as a change management, we first understand what is that resistance that we have to work with, because otherwise that will start biting us in the back. So we take them through all those steps before we actually manage the change. Some change, and you must have seen. Yeah,
I see a hand raised. I don't know, Tori, you have a question?
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to kind of like see if you can kind of expand on that change, that campaign management piece. Because I agree, I kind of observed that pretty frequently as well, as like, the change is just considered the kind of like, the kind of transition from,
current state to new state.
But it's not actually, they don't actually think about change in terms of like kind of the like emotional piece of it. And so I guess I'm curious to kind of get you to expound on kind of campaign management piece, because I think that's so critical.
I will come to that. I will show you in a minute. I will show you in a minute. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. So 70% of the change initiative fails. That's by McKinsey. 70% of change initiative fail. Now, please be very frank with me and tell me how many agile transformations you have done which are successful.
Well, it depends on how you define success, does it not? Right?
Yeah.
Because some agile transformation, while they did not meet the goal or made the teams or organization fully agile, did change fact on the ground. So, for example, if I look back on the industry in the last 20 years, I see us going from big waterfall with big requirements document, silos, pool of resources, to more permanent teams, more smaller deliverables, maybe managed in Kanban boards, more frequent deployment. So I do see change over the last 20 years. Now, it's true, many organizations had 2.5 agile transformations instead of one, and they're going back and forth, and they're not, in general, realize the full potential of become a Google as they hope to.
Okay. So the question was, out of 10 companies, how many companies have you seen successfully are doing Agile the way you wanted it?
Can I intercede? This is David. I actually specialize in going into companies that are in that kind of trouble, and they're all failing. And they're all failing because they don't have upper management engaged enough, or they're not driving the transformation, which is really what's going to make everybody align underneath it, or they don't understand enough what it takes to make an adoption and a transformation, what makes it successful. So what they're all doing is they're sending people to training, and then they put them back in and say, okay, do it. And that, to me, is quantum out teaching somebody how to swim in a pool, and then going to the middle of the ocean and dropping them in the middle of the ocean and asking them to swim. The minute they start treading water, automatically they're going to revert back to what they know, the previous, whatever they did for 20 years, right? So that's what they're all failing, because people are not really being agile. They're forgetting everything they learned the minute they hit the panic button or they hit a crisis. And if you don't have alignment in terms of middle management, upper management, they're going back to, because like management in reality is measured quite differently than you would measure success in Agile. Agile is measured on delivering value on a continuous delivery cycle and continuous improvement cycle. Management traditionally is measured on bringing projects on a timeline under budget and on time. That's all they care about. Or, I mean, I'm simplifying. Of course, they care a lot about more. But to simplify, that's really their driver. So they're conflicting, right? They're conflicting values, they're conflicting approaches, and that's really where they fail. So what I do is, like, there's a tremendous niche for Agilists to go in there and sort of coach and help everybody on a day in, day out basis to really get them from like from crawling to learning to walk and then sprinting, right? That whole process takes time, and it takes somebody to guide you along the way.
Your name is David, right?
Yes.
David, you get a virtual candy from me.
Oh, thank you. I don't eat candy, but thank you. I'll give it to somebody that does.
Okay, good job. Okay. Question again. How many agile transformations have you done where you are successful? And if it is not, just tell me. No, it was sticking for some time. Then I had to change. Be open.
I think it also depends. We have done transformation projects and then we moved on as a consultant to the next project. So we are not really there to see what happens after we implemented things. So yeah.
All right. So remember, I showed you the first one, which is environment, behavior, actions, results. So whenever I go to any company, first I talk to leadership. And then I say, this is what is going to happen to you, because my teams are going to be high performing. And then you won't have anything else to do. Are you okay to live that life? Because you won't have any control after that. Would you be okay with that? And that becomes a problem. Okay. So if you don't teach leadership what they are asking for, it's a trouble, right? Because they have to start living it. The problem is, it's not about teaching somebody Scrum or Agile or Kanban or whatever that thing is, but it is about sustaining that. Do you have an environment to sustain that? Is there a mindset or mind shift for that? That is more important. Sending somebody for a safe training does not make somebody safe. It doesn't work that way. SPC does not mean as a specialized coach, or a SPCT does not mean he's a coach or a trainer. It doesn't work that way. So this has to come from leadership. If leadership is not in it, you should not just do Agile. Forget about it. Stop it. Because it's a torture for people who actually go through the training and the transition. A lot of time I have seen, because of budget, they cut the coaches. Have you seen that or not?
All the time.
Because there is no budget, they cut the coaches.
All the time. They shoot themselves on the foot. They shoot themselves on the foot all the time.
Right.
You also, the other thing that you see is that middle management, especially if upper management executives don't really understand what's going to happen and who is going to be affected,
right.
Job security starts playing a role, because middle management feels threatened by agility, because all of a sudden the hierarchy is no longer there.
Right. And that's the reason why I stopped teaching Agile, Safe, Scrum 7 years ago. And why I went for change management. See, here is the trouble. I made that mistake. I was an Agile coach, but I didn't know what is change or change management. Don't you think all Agile coaches should know what is change or change management? Do you agree with me?
Of course.
But no, they give us a team. Go teach them ceremony. Yeah, sure. Is that the change really? Okay. All right. For any change to happen, these are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6 things have to be there. There has to be a vision for change. There has to be consensus with leadership. We should have right people with the right skills. There should be incentive for people to create that change. We should have the right resources. Resources does not mean just people, but the tools, techniques, everything. And we need a plan. If you don't have any of this, then we get into this particular result set. Just go through that if you don't mind for a minute. Make sense? How many times have you seen the leadership wants to do something, but there is no really action plan, or there is no future vision, but they just want to change for the sake of change? Have you seen that? All right. This is a 5-step process which ACMP suggests, which is first create. What is the change impact? Why are we trying to change? And is your organization ready for that change? If your organization is not ready for the change, so we do actual assessment of organizational readiness. And if our organization is not ready, we don't change. We tell them that you are not ready for the change. Just don't do it. Just stop it. Once we evaluate that the organization is ready for the change, then we create a change management strategy with the leadership and the stakeholders. Now, there are two kind of sponsors. One is responsible for sponsor, one is accountable sponsor. Accountable sponsor is somebody who is paying for it. Responsible sponsor is all managing managers, managing teams. Those are responsible sponsors. Then we create a change management plan with the stakeholders and important people. We execute this change management plan more like agile fashion or iterative fashion. And then we make sure that the change management plan is sustained, not just complete. This is not a project management plan. So whenever you do change management plan, you need a project management plan also, because there are some part of project which are needed as part of the change management plan. Okay. There are a lot of steps in these 5 steps, but I'm not going to go through that. One day we will have a change management workshop. All right. How are you feeling so far? Are you guys learning something new? Is this all already or is this something different? Feedback.
Well, I'm a little puzzled about the change management part. If you have a certain sense of the company works in a certain way, and somebody says, "Oh, Agile will reduce your cost by 30%." So then management says, "Yeah, I want that." And then somebody comes up with a plan that says, "Okay, you got these teams, they work on this system, this whatever, waterfall, hybrid, whatever the structure is." And in today's world, I'm willing to believe none of this waterfall stuff is still applicable. In other words, nobody's doing a requirements document and then the design and then the coding and then the test work. All of this stuff is now mashed together in, we got this thing, we got to get it out to market, and we're going to just do this. Right. So there's a corporate way of doing this in established companies. I have to admit, my experience has been large, complex places. I'm now working on a kind of part-time basis with a couple of small startups, and the people involved know what they're supposed to do, so they get to working software very quickly. And the product owners, stakeholders, are directly involved because it's all small. People talk to each other all the time. Can you make it a blue one? Yes. No. Can you make it a purple one? Yeah, we'll add some red, that kind of thing. But in larger organizations like banks or insurance companies or whatever, manufacturing companies that use a lot of numerical control on their equipment, so they have a lot of software, they have an established process. Somebody's telling them Agile will do 30% less. You get, half the work and twice the time. There was a book with that title.
So it's
that particular tactic has to be sold. And when you show that Dunninger, whatever it was, with a little dip where you have a black curve that's very deep, or you have a green curve, which is almost a little bit straight, right? And you get to the newly achieved thing, then this will be there are ways of monitoring this. So this change management thing that you're working on has kind of like deep roots and a set of metrics and can be measured, and organizationally these places have done this stuff at least once or twice.
Okay, so here it is, no? So Joe is playing with Jim on a golf course, and Jim says, "Hey, I'm doing Agile, I get 30% more benefit." So Joe goes to his company and tells his director, "Come on, do Agile because Jim is getting 30% benefit." And then he sends those directors to some courses to do the Agile transformation. Most of the time, this is what happens in the golf course. When somebody says, "We are doing Agile, we are getting the benefit, go do it," without even understanding what they're trying to solve.
I think on the golf course, some people hit a ball with a stick too, but never mind.
Exactly. So now in last 25 years, I'm going to say something and then you don't have to agree with me, but I will say this anyway. I have seen banks. It's a waste of time. Don't do Agile. Forget about it. Just keep doing what you're doing. Forget about it. It's just not going to work for you. Banks. Am I right? Wrong? Anybody has experienced in banks?
Well, I have, but I think we have to agree that there's two pictures that can be true at the same time, right? Because I agree with you that right now they cannot be truly agile and fully empower teams and get rid of all have minimal viable bureaucracy and so on and so forth. There's a lot of things they cannot do, and it's a waste of time. But I have actually followed big financial institutions, and I can see that they don't work the same way as it did in 2000, 25 years ago. So they have made changes that have moved to better way of working. Now, are there anything like Google and Facebook? No. Are there anything like those startups that Pires is talking about? No. But they are not like they were 25 years ago either.
There's some flavor, but it's not everything there. Yeah, there's some flavor to that. Yes. But then there is a glass ceiling that they hit.
Yes.
Because of the bureaucity and the red tapes and everything.
Yes, the culture and the incentives, the culture, the environment, a lot of things, a lot of roadblocks.
So finance,
not to mention the government regulation
coming,
and the auditing parts where they have to keep track of this stuff very closely.
But it's even worse than that, because I was trying to teach back in Young Mellon that the audit control they had was far exceeding what the government required. But you were speaking to a wall, right? So and I was also saying to them, you could actually get better audit control if we did automation, if we did, and instead they had those bureaucratic structures that actually gave them less control because people were hiding things under the rock to just get through the audit. Anyway, so yes, there's constraint for being ran as an organization, there's constraint in healthcare, but if the organization is very much top down, Taylorism and have the old stuff, it's much worse than it had to be.
Correct. So don't get upset when you're an agile coach for a bank. Just keep going. They will pay you. Enjoy the money. Be satisfied. Whatever is happening, no problem. Don't have lower expectation. Then you will be happy. But don't expect them to be high performing teams and all of that. It doesn't work. Just don't. Yeah. A second industry. Want to know? Second industry is insurance company. Okay, insurance company. You can have some agile flavor, but not agile flavor, not agile mindset. Is this again bureaucracy, red tapes, and all of those things will stop? Yeah. Okay.
I'm curious, like from your experience, like what industries are more
the best industries for this is startup.
But that's one of the sides, right? Because you can have financial startups.
Startup. When people say I've done enterprise level agile transformation, he or she is faking. He or she is faking. They must have done a small department, but to change the entire enterprise to agility, I have not seen a single company so far which is doing entire enterprise as agility.
Well, I want to challenge a little bit because Microsoft did not grow up digital. Microsoft started very top down and with waterfall and big requirements documents. And they are now still part of Magnificent Seven and actually looks much more like Google and Tesla than they look like the banks.
Yeah, I was consulting at Microsoft in Seattle. When you know inside, then you know what's going on there.
There's a lot of things going on. I've been consulting for Microsoft too, so there's a lot of things going on. But they have changed a lot since 1990.
All right. So 2 companies, just don't be unhappy. Just keep doing. You'll be happy. Oh, yeah. Okay. Good. So now let's go to this. If you can see my screen. Okay. Now I'm going to take you beyond agile transformation. Okay. So just be ready with me and be an open mind. Okay. At the board level, people are talking about KPIs and numbers and money. Make sense? Mm-hmm. At that board level, at that investor level, they don't care about safe, agile, Scrum, and Kanban. Make sense? story point does not make sense to them. Clear to you? For them, what is the bottom line? Correct? Not how many teams are doing Agile on stand-up. That is not their problem. Clear? Okay, good. So now that is called as balanced scorecard. If you want to read about balanced scorecard, this is a great book. Please read it, because that will show you what is the strategy. How does company actually create a strategy? Okay, read that book, because as an Agile coach, you should know what is company thinking. Okay, balanced scorecard. If you have not seen that, please read that book. Okay. So balanced scorecards generally have your KPIs. Okay, these are the numbers that company actually go through. Okay. Now, based on the balanced scorecards, you can see the strategic theme for the company. Makes sense? And now I'm talking about little about SAFe. Yeah, all of you know strategic theme, right? At the portfolio level, at the top level of the SAFe. Yeah. So strategic themes. Don't you think when we are doing any strategic theme, they should change the KPIs? All of you agree with me? Strategic team should change KPIs.
Okay, so what's your favorite KPI?
What's your favorite KPI? I don't know. That's not my company. But my company's KPI could be, 20% growth in fashion industry. That could be my KPI.
Well, each strategic team really has a different value proposition to the company, right? So the KPI should be different.
Correct. So whenever you create any work for IT company or business, it should change your company's KPI, right? It should benefit the company. Make sense? Now, based on the strategic
I'm
theme,
sorry, Sandeep, that part did not make sense. Could you go over that again, please?
So when at the
About the
portfolio
KPI.
level, you have any work item that is coming in at the portfolio level. If company says we have to go cloud, okay? And if the cloud is your strategic theme, then why do we go to cloud? Because now we want some business generation or some revenue generation, right? That is why we are going to go to public cloud or a private cloud. So the public cloud or private cloud is going to give some company some benefit in revenue generation. So that becomes your driver for this particular work. So imagine strategic theme is go public cloud. Now, why you're doing that? Because there is some reason for generating revenue for the company. Makes sense? Does not make sense?
I'm not sure how the use of the cloud per se is actually generating revenue for the company unless companies selling cloud services.
Well, it may be more cost effective than have your own data center. So Bank of Mellon realized that it was too costly to have their own data center. So there was a cost saving.
So they outsourced the data center.
They got extra reliability, and they were able to scale more and have more uptime and so on and so forth.
Yeah, then there's a story about the truck that backed into the power line that provided the data center connection to everybody else on the rest of the grid. The power line went down and most of the businesses connected to the data center stopped. I know a hospital had an experience, 8 hours, they were offline. They had to do all of their medications by hand, all of their doctor's instructions by hand. They were not happy. Just stopped. Okay, that's the end of that example.
Right. So if you go to SAFe framework here, whatever comes here is because there is a need from the enterprise. Make sense? Whatever comes in this backlog comes from the enterprise. Make sense? Yeah. Now the enterprise is asking you to do something because there is a financial benefit. Otherwise, why would you work on something? Okay. So that is what, if you're working on something here, because there is a financial benefit to the company. Any confusion? Any explanation, more explanation needed, or you got it? Okay. Now, because I'm talking about SAFe here, as you know, the solution level has something called as capability. Capability is more like breaking down your work into some chunkable work, which is across teams that is going through. That is called capability. Okay. It's like breaking down your work into more chunkable work where you're actually breaking down so that you can team of teams across the department can do that particular work. It's called capability. Okay. Now, when it comes to even breaking it down further, it's called feature. All of you know that, right? This is all of you are aware of this, right? Safe terms, or is this some new foreign word for all of you? Anybody new to these words, or all of you got it so far? Okay. Then the feature becomes story, and the story actually came from something called as requirement engineering. I don't know if anybody knows that, but if you really read that book called Requirement Engineering, you will see that everything is in the story is actually already created 50 years ago by somebody else, and then somebody made it into a story. All right, so requirement engineering already had something called a story, and that story is from there. Okay, and the story become task. Okay, anybody is not aware of this hierarchy, or all of you got it? Yes, no? Can I move ahead? Okay, good. So Tori, you asked me a question about how can we do change management here, right? Okay. Think about any strategic feature or capability that is coming to you today, okay? The first question which you can ask product management is, what are we trying to change? What are we changing? What are we changing? Why is that feature? What is that capability? What are you talking about? What are we changing? What are we changing? Okay. One more quick note I'm going to give you. Without knowing the acceptance criteria for a feature, do not create stories. Without knowing acceptance criteria for capabilities, do not create features. If you do not have acceptance criteria for a story, do not create tasks. Clear? Okay. If you start working on a story without acceptance criteria for a feature, you're signing on a blank check. All of you good with that?
Well, I mean, that is safe prescription, right? There's now an alternative way of working.
Safe does not say that. So
there's now an alternative way. In what Marty Kagan called the product operating model, where outcomes are more important than output.
Right.
You specify by the outcomes.
Right.
And the team is free to do as many or as few stories to achieve that outcome. And they can also pivot. But in safe, you're having some acceptance criteria. You need to do this one 10% higher. This needs to be a 5 dashboard. And the teams become a little more order takers and break that down to smaller stories, which give that safety that you're going to get what you expect because you're going to get 5 dashboards and you're going to get a lot of things to the database. That's probably going to make it run faster, hopefully.
Right. Marty Kagan does not like safe. I don't know if you know that. I hate safe.
I do.
Yeah, okay. So first question you need to ask is, what are we changing? Okay. Now think about your own feature, think about your own story, and ask yourself, what are we really changing? Okay. So for example, if somebody is saying, don't use this tool because we are going to shift to a different tool altogether tomorrow. For example, if we are not going to use Jira tomorrow, we are going to use something else for managing the backlog. Yeah. Then the question is, what are we trying to change? Why are we trying to change? What is the reason? Okay. Next question you should ask is, what is the change benefit? What is the change benefit? What is the change benefit for that particular change? For that particular feature, particular capability, particular epic, particular whatever you call it as. What is the change benefit? Whenever we talk about change benefit, make a note. You need to ask 4 things. One is, what is the benefit for the people? What is the benefit to the process? What is the benefit for the technology? And what is the benefit to the organization? What is the benefit to the people? What is the benefit to the process? What is the benefit to the technology? What is the benefit to the organization? Okay, people, process, technology, organization, PPTO. Okay. Okay, what is the benefit? Once you understand the benefit, then you have to ask the question, how do we measure that benefit? How do we know that we are successful? What does success look like? How do we know we are successful? What does the success look like? Don't you think this is all important to write features, write good features? So this is all good for product management before they give you any particular work. What are we trying to change? Why we are trying to change? What is the change benefit? And how do you know we are successful? Makes sense so far? Is it useful so far? Okay, okay. Then you ask the question, root cause. Why are we trying to change? What happened here? What actually happened? Why are we trying to change this? Don't ask this question in the front, otherwise they will not talk to you. First ask about what are we trying to change, why we are trying to change, what is the change benefit, but don't ask the root cause question immediately. Whenever you start asking question with the why we are changing, they will stop answering your questions. Okay, that ask that question later, root cause later, after the benefit. Good so far? Okay. Okay. You should also ask not in scope. What is not in scope? What are we not supposed to do? Tell me very clearly so that I don't touch that. What is not in scope for this particular work for MVP 1? Okay. Okay. Needs attention. This is the place where you will write high impact and high probability risks. Only high impact and high probability risk. Only high impact and high probability risk. Not low impact, low probability. Forget about that. High impact, high probability. Something that will stop you from becoming successful. What will come in your way to be becoming successful? Okay. So more like what will come in your way to becoming success measure that you will write here in the needs attention. Clear so far?
Imagine if you could clarify that for me, is that a risk or?
So see here, the thing is, I said high impact and high probability, impact and risk.
Okay, so we're talking about risks. Okay, all right. Just want to make sure I'm on the same wavelength.
Yes.
Okay.
Only high impact and high probability, where you need leadership attention, where you can't solve. Something small things you can solve. Don't worry about it. Good so far? Go to the next. Okay. Ask them what will happen if you don't go on that particular date. What will happen? Will the world stop spinning? How much revenue we will lose? What will happen if we don't go on that particular date, particular time? Who will be impacted? Got it? Risk of not changing. What if we don't go with that change? What will happen? Impact to the people, impact to the process, impact to the technology, impact to the organization. Again, create those 4 categories of risk of not changing. I think I should write a book on this, how to write a good feature.
Okay, so let me just ask one thing so we all with you. Are you saying that you can go through this canvas whether you are changing your way of working or whether you're building a feature to the customer and put on the website?
So I'm using the change management framework to write a good feature.
Okay, so I could use the same approach when I write a good feature for my e-commerce site.
Correct.
Also.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. The last one, whenever you're changing any technology, what is the communication strategy for the stakeholders, outside customers, or any departments that are going to be impacted by your change? Make sense? So you may make a change in the application, but you may forget to inform your customers on that particular change that you're trying to do. So what is the communication strategy? What is the training strategy for salespeople? All of that. Is it too much for the evening, or you are getting it, or am I talking gibberish?
Well, maybe, I mean, what I'm hearing is you if I translate it, that you advocate this change canvas. That's all us have seen for big change initiatives where you change ways of working. But you're advocating to use it when you have features that a lot of teams are going to work on. That could be out to your software to sell to customers.
Right.
Or make money on,
Right. Okay. Then you need a training strategy to train your stakeholders. And also you need a post-deployment strategy. That is how big the change is. Is it a country-wide change? Is it a region-wide change? Then what is the deployment strategy for that? Okay. This is the way you can write a good feature. Make sense? Any questions before we go to the next story mapping?
Sandeep, can this canvas be used for overall transformation, agile transformation?
You can use it for
plan for
the
change strategy and communication strategy for transformation and all of that.
Yeah, then you hire me, and then I will show you another catalog, another change.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Now we will go to the story mapping. All right. All of you good so far? Are you awake so far? Am I putting anybody to sleep, or this is good?
Yeah, this is usable.
Okay. Anka, any feedback from you so far?
I guess I got a little bit fuzzy between change management, structure, and feature. I mean, I'm familiar with feature and I'm writing features. I'm curious also, like, who do you use with? Like, what do you have? Like, what type of meeting do you have for this?
I generally use this with the product management and the business people.
Mm-hmm.
Before they tell somebody to do something from IT, I ask them these questions. What are we trying to change? Why are we trying to change? What is the business reason?
Okay.
So any ask
for change. You are using for change management, not for writing features.
I use this change management technique in the feature writing. Yes. Because current feature writing technique does not work properly. That's the reason why I'm using change management technique in the feature writing. If you see the current features, they are so poorly written. They are not business centric. They show sometimes what IT should do more than what business wants. And that's the reason why I write business centric feature, not IT centric features.
Mm-hmm.
The features should be always business centric. They should not be IT centric. The stories can be IT centric.
Yeah, so what he's advocating here is a little original, right? So he's advocating using these change canvases for your feature writing. For the pre-work before he gives the feature to the delivery team.
Correct. And business will actually like it because now you're asking the right questions to the business.
And there will probably be a higher chance now that they actually is going to get that success and those outcomes they were hoping for than if we carry all these the old features around it, where sometimes the outcome get lost in the shuffle for the output. Anka, does that make sense?
So I guess it could make sense in a complex environment. I currently work in a startup. So this I don't know, like I would see it using somewhere else, but not for a small environment.
So that's a good question. We were talking about SAFe, and SAFe is typically used by those behemoths, the large bank, the large insurance companies, Amtrak is trying to use it. So some big things. So I thought this was the context of the large enterprise. That's the one that have strategic themes and portfolio management. It's very different when you're having a small startup where everybody just organically talk to each other and they already know what we're doing and why.
But even in the traditional Scrum, right? You do write, the lower level is user stories, but then above that you have features and then you have themes, right? So it fits neatly into that. I mean, it depends on how you use it, right?
Well, in classical Scrum, in the old days, you just had stories and epics on top of them. And both of them was written in the terms of the customer value and the business. But along the way, as this got rolled into big enterprises and people didn't really know what they were doing, they are now carrying a lot of order taking things. So somebody go and interview the stakeholder and ask, do you want this, do you want that, do you want one dashboard or two dashboard? And then you get those features over to the delivery team and it's lost in the shuffle of why you're doing them if they're not written in a business-centric way with the success measures and how we know we're successful and what will happen if we didn't do it or do half of it.
Okay.
I mean, you're right, but I haven't written user stories in the past. I mean, you could break it up many different ways, right? And to me, like sometimes, you could do it for modules, right? How you order all the stories and features under a specific module or whatever that you're delivering, right? So it depends on how you break it down.
Right, but the challenge in a large organization is that there's some people who writes the features, and then they give it to the team to break down to stories. And you can write great stories, but if you don't know why you're doing the feature, you're not set up to write great stories.
Right. Okay, so here is a suggestion. Believe me, this will change your life because I've gone through this path. Whatever, whether you are a lean startup or not a lean startup or a big company, take your current feature and try to put it in the box and then write yourself. Just give your 10 minutes and say, what is my feature changing? Write down at least 2 or 3 or 4 stickies. Write down the benefit. And then you will see and you will explore what you are not seeing otherwise. Because this particular framework shows you a systemic view. It does not tell you how to solve. How to solve is very simple, but it'll give you the overarching view of what we are trying to solve and how we are trying to solve.
And this may mean that you bring a problem and an opportunity to the team and empower them to figuring out the best way to make this happen, or maybe the cheapest way to make this happen.
Right.
Instead of giving them a long list of requirements and they're more order takers and start from A and code to C.
Well, I guess that's where the story mapping comes, right? Because after you know how you're going to measure success, you need to define what do we do and what the minimum we can do to test if we are in the right direction or not.
The problem is I've seen in many companies is the moment product owner says or product manager says do something, a lot of time people are actually creating stories without understanding the problem.
Yes.
And that is not the solution. That's not the solution. See, without understanding the problem, you create a solution, but that's not going to work for many reasons. Okay, so put this in boxes, make people understand what we are trying to solve, and then solve it incrementally. Okay, creating stories is not working. Okay, all right. Please just try your current feature and try to put it in boxes and then see if it works for you. And then I can promise you, you can send me candies and chocolates. I will give you my address, but this will work 100%. Yeah. See, what you have not seen before, it does not mean it's not going to work. Just experiment. If it does not work, it's fine. Then keep doing what you're doing. Okay. Remember, I'm just a Sherpa. I've gone through this path.
I like your descriptions, right?
Right.
I do agree. I mean, having written stories and features and epics and all of that in the past, I know that a lot of the times the story, the actual value of the problem that you're trying to address for the business is kind of lost in translation, especially when you get down to the story level, which is kind of the weeds, right? And you know, and it's very easy for a development team to look at that and concentrate on that without really understanding the overall, how it fits into the overall, right? That problem that you're trying to solve. So I can see how this tells a sort of like a nice story of what the business, what really you're going after, right?
Yeah. Now you know, David, why I stopped working in Scrum and Kanban and Safe 7 years ago, right? That's why I'm in change management, because that does not work without change management understanding. All right, we will get there one day, and then you'll remember that crazy Indian guy who came here and told us, yeah, he was right. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. We are just putting a lipstick on a pig. All right, we'll go to story mapping, yeah? This false perception of creating a story which can be done in 2 weeks does not work in all company. Bold statement. I said the false perception of creating value by a story in big companies with a large complex environment does not work in all environment. Make sense? Okay. You're forcing somebody to create a story which will fit in 2 weeks does not make value. Make sense? A story is not, a value is not created by a story. Value is created by creating a particular functionality that is usable, consumable by the customer. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So there is a bunch of stories that have to come together so that we can create a value for the customer. That is when the value is delivered. And you don't know the value delivered unless it goes to the customer hands. So the doing is not done. I'm doing it is not done. Done is only when the customer is actually uses it and gives you feedback. Only then the thing is done. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So that false perception of creating stories for 2 weeks, stop it. Don't focus on that. That's not important. That's not important. Velocity is not important. Story point is not important. Creating value is more important. Good with that so far?
Yeah, that's the more modern way of looking at it.
Well, that's at the heart of Scrum and Agile, right? To create value, not timelines or
exactly, right? Okay,
or measure by any other way.
Okay, if you're with me so far, yeah, you can otherwise forget about whatever happened tonight and then just go with your way, okay? Or otherwise you come back, you can come back and then tell me, okay? So generally what I suggest is, do not create feature unless you understand the acceptance criteria for an epic. Make sense? All your features should be solving an acceptance criteria. All your features should be solving an acceptance criteria for a particular epic. Good with that?
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, makes sense. Okay, so far so. Okay, then generally what I used to tell, because I don't teach anymore, but I will show you what I used to do, is I used to tell teams to create this particular set and make it successful. What do you need? Create a building block. So if you want to create a peanut butter and jelly, what do you need? Peanut butter, you need bread, you need jelly, right? So start writing down what are the building blocks that will take you to the success of this particular feature. Make sense?
Yeah.
And then what I used to tell them is, okay, if you do this, then you will do that, then you will do this one, and then this will go on from here, yeah, and this will go on from here to here, yeah. So they start creating this building block. Good with that so far? Okay.
So what are the columns? 1, 2, 3 sprints?
Yeah, those are sprints. Yes, yeah. Okay, good so far. No, you're with me? Okay. Yeah. The next step which I do is very important. when we create building block, remember safe says create Rome. Remember Rome?
Yeah.
Rome, remember Rome?
Or
yeah?
risk.
For risk
Yeah.
roaming. Remember? Yeah.
Mhm,
But there is a
mhm.
problem there. I'll tell you what the problem is. In that Rome, there is no date. So if you don't know the date of risk, what is the point of creating roaming? No. So if the risk is going to come tomorrow, but you don't know the date, then what is the point of having the risk on the board? So create risk flag somewhere so that you understand for this building block, there is going to be a risk here. There is going to be a risk here. There is going to be a risk here. There's going to be a risk here. Make sense? So that your Scrum Master can actually see what could be a risk, potential risk for that particular building block, and by when. Clear to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Remember, you are not creating a story, you're just creating a building block. This building block could be 50% right, 50% wrong, but you're creating a draft. With me? Okay. Next step which I do is I ask them what are the skill sets needed. So sometimes they write UX and Java developer, and then sometimes they write testing here, sometimes they write this and that. Okay, got it? So what are the skills needed for that particular building block? Good with me so far?
Yeah.
Okay. Then, because they write all these building blocks with the skill sets that are needed, they can see horizontally and vertically their capacity for completing that particular work. You're with me so far? Because they can see now how the work is getting shelled out, along with their capacity and the skills, they can see horizontally and vertically what is the plan looking like. Sometimes it may so happen that this building block is so complex that this cannot finish in 5, but this will go on for some time, and that also happens, right, in real life. So
but then don't you ask them to split them in smaller building blocks?
So when you see a pattern like this, then there is a time when you have to get the business in the room and show this is what the map looks like. What can we negotiate? What can we negotiate?
But also when you have that long building block, is it because they do something and have to wait for our team to give the database key, and that takes 2 weeks, and then they can start again? So that's maybe a calendar time, but not the time where they're actually working on it.
Exactly. So things like this have to be discussed with the business. So now you're not even creating a story, not a single story in Jira yet, but you are creating a map before creating a story. And because you're creating a map, you already know whether you're going to fit or not. And that is the time you have to get your business in the room and say, this is what the map looks like. We did it in 2 days. What do you think? What can we do? Negotiation. And that is where you negotiate.
Sorry to interrupt, but when you do the map, don't you have the business and the team together? Like
sometimes, not all the time you have business in the room. Sometimes you have a product manager and then your team members. And then because the reason why you don't want business, because you don't want to show them the kitchen sink. That's the reason.
Yep. Okay.
With me so far? Are you getting it so far, or is it too much?
Well, it is getting later in the evening here, but I'm very curious to see where all this is going. So how much is left?
Is another 10 minutes, 5 minutes.
Okay.
Does this make sense? That is, you create a roadmap first, you create a building block first, and then get the business together and then show them what this roadmap looks like and negotiate?
I mean, would you indicate here the dependencies you have, so we could see that there's the 2 weeks gap, because it typically takes 2 weeks to get X, Y, and Z from this shared service or from whatever.
Yeah, when the business asks, why is it taking so long? Then you will explain them, this is what is happening. Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And after you negotiate with business, only then you create a story in Jira. Otherwise, do not waste your time in creating stories in Jira because they will just sit in the backlog. They are not useful to anybody.
And they're actually worse. They're clutter. They're inventory. That's going to.
They're the inventory which is sitting. Yeah. The value of story is not going to increase like our old wine. It's going to depreciate. Okay. Anything before we conclude? Anything? Any question?
Let's go to the finish line, and then I have some more general questions. But I just want to see how this ends.
Okay. So generally, what happens is this is the particular epic, and you have the features, and then you start creating building block for this. Then you have another epic and another feature, and you have building block for that. But you have limited number of people on your team. You don't have 100 people on your team. You may have only 25 or 30 people. Now, because you start putting the skills, then you start putting kind of people. Who do we need? Joe, John, Kelly, whosoever. Yeah, you start creating a draft that for that particular story, that particular people are needed. More like sort of capacity and load management draft you are creating. And because you're creating load and capacity management plan, you already know that whether your team can do it or not in this particular 6 weeks. Saying yes to your product backlog does not guarantee you the success. And that's the reason why we generally do this first. This is done in 2 days. And after 2 days, we get the business into collaboration, and then we negotiate, and then we start creating our backlog for our PI planning.
Wait, do you do this for 2 days and you do PI planning for 2 days?
So PI planning is across the team members, right? Across the arts. But PI planning is not across.
I know, but out of the book, PI planning takes 2 full days. Are you doing a shorter form since you've done so much analysis upfront here?
Yeah. So PI planning is only for 2 days, but PI planning should not be the place where you create new stories. PI planning is for collaboration, confirmation, and risk management for that particular work, right? The planning should be continuous.
Yeah, yes. But I'm just asking how much you are putting into planning, because if you're doing 16 hours of this and then 16 hours of PI planning, that's quite a lot of time planning.
Yeah. We do this for 2 days just to create a draft. Then we create stories, and then we have two days of PI planning. Yes. Yeah. With 80% of commitment prediction.
But don't you sometimes see that as time goes by, you learn things happen, so you have to replan. And then there is a upfront cost of having spent 4 days on planning if you want to take advantage of learning and replan every 2 weeks.
Yeah, but company like SAP, where there is a lot of complexity, we don't change as much.
I see.
Generally, there is a change, but only 10% change, not much.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm curious, like how many people do you have in a session like this? Like how many people, how many teams is it like a plan for one product team or multiple product teams? Or how do you...
How many people? Generally 25 to 30 people in one workshop for 2 days.
There's no way to divide and conquer? I mean, do you have to have all 30 people for 2 days?
Divide and conquer. Yes.
Okay, so there's no small breakout rooms.
Yeah, breakout rooms. Yes.
Because otherwise, it will be very tiring if I was with 30 people and I am only working on these 3 things.
Yeah.
And you do these sessions in person or virtual?
Virtual.
Wow. So, and what tools do you use? So, like what?
Mural. Mural. The same tool which I'm showing you.
Okay.
Yeah. Same exact tool.
But when you, I mean, okay, so you said Peter do this, Sammy do that. in some companies, you are really trying to make people more cross-functional. So you see when somebody is done and have an extra free hand, maybe he can do a little pair programming, and even though he's not an expert, he will slowly learn more on that skill set. So you slowly increase the cross-functionality, and you sort of take advantage of not pre-assigning all the work, but people take a story, and when they finish it and have capacity, they take one more.
Correct. But cross-functionality does not happen overnight. No, it takes time.
No. But you can have a commitment to it. You try to grow it over a year.
Yeah. All right. Any question before I conclude in next 2 minutes? Was this useful? Was there something to take away from here?
I mean, the idea of using technique from change management to feature writing, which Anke first was, and I was also like, we're just trying to orient ourselves. I think that is extremely useful. So people understand more the problem before they jump to the first solution or just think they have to do this. This is really the problem we're going to solve. We're still wrapping our head around, in one situation, it's beneficial to do 4 days of planning for 3 months, right? Because in some companies, things actually change along the way. Something was anticipated to be built for a big customer, you lose that customer. Or you plan some early spikes, and then you learn things, and then you will take advantage of that and replan it.
Right. And if you're changing more than 50%, then you should stop your planning.
Yes. So it's a pattern that fits for a certain context, not for everything.
Exactly. Okay. I hope this was useful to some people. At least you got 1 point. Maybe you can take away.
No, I think we got many points, and it's just some of us has been working since 8 in.m, so it's the brain is a little tired here. But I think we got many points, and I think it would be nice to maybe see the video for the recording, and at least for some parts of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. That would be helpful.
All right, the video will be posted in a couple of days, and I'm going to share the link again.
Maybe just here, David, do you have some final reactions or thoughts?
I'm sorry?
Do you have some final thoughts you want to share?
No, I agree with you. I mean, there are pieces of this that are very valuable. I mean, the whole context, I don't know. I don't get involved at that, portfolio level that much anymore, even though I'm SAFe certified, right? But it's good to know. I mean, they're tools, right? And tools are only as good as the value they provide you within the context of the complexity of the project you're in, right? So if it's helpful, it's helpful. I can see how this could be, or at least parts of this could be helpful, even in story writing, right? Because one of the things that I did see, continuously in many projects is that disconnect between, the user stories that you deliver to the development team and an understanding of how they fit into the greater context of the value you're trying to deliver or the problem you're trying to solve, right? And that's, this having this methodical way of, defining your features, defining your epics, that's give you like a nice context because then, it forces you to really, outline the UAT, right? The user acceptance testing, which in a lot of teams I've seen they neglect to do that, right? They have nice little stories and whatever, but then you look at the epics and they're half cooked. They're not completely defined or or the UAT defined completely, things like that. So I could see how this could be very helpful. Yes.
Good.
And this is about talking about what success looked like before you build everything.
Right.
Will make it more likely that you will achieve success.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
I agree with the comments that have been made so far. I think a lot of this could be useful. Sandeep, I'd also recommend you, shall we say, smooth out the presentation a little bit. I feel that you don't need to stop to ask people if it's new to them or if they don't know anything about it, you make your points and move along. And if somebody has a problem, raise a hand and speak. We're not shy about interrupting you, as you may have noticed. But the other thing I would recommend is that if you could provide a kind of generalized or worked example from your direct experience of how the application of change management to shall we say the creation of the building blocks and the relationship between senior management and the guys actually doing the work, kind of integrate these things into a worked example, you might say, maybe a little bit of illustration about here's management, here to workers, and we built the blocks this way, and the transition from the features and the epics down to the capabilities and stories worked out in this way. And at the end of the story, we got a product that looks like something. I realize that I've had this problem myself with presentations that you can't say things because there's business confidentiality, and there's kind of personal liability. You don't want to get sued for telling people stories, that kind of thing. But if you could kind of compress the nature of the presentation so that we could interact at certain segments rather than kind of like on a slide-by-slide basis. I see Joachim is agreeing with me.
No, I do. Yeah, I think there was the meat was at the end. Remember we talked about the meat is in the end of the book. So I felt we spent a lot of time at the beginning of the book, but I enjoyed it. So take it positively.
And there is a lot of value in this, and the Agile people like to see where they can improve themselves.
Yeah,
and learn from direct experience. All right, I'm done.
I agree. If there's some feedback that would be useful, it would be for you to identify, at the very beginning of the meeting, if everybody's on the same page in terms of, the knowledge of agility or whatever, right? And then the other thing is to maybe have like a little introduction in terms of, and I kind of missed the beginning, so maybe you did, but my apologies if you did, but of what the real purpose of the whole thing is, because at times several of us kind of had questions, kind of got lost in where were you going with this, right? How did this fit into, what was the purpose of
that was in agenda,
what you were trying to talk about?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But it was great. I mean, it's great content, right?
I'll say, if you write this up as a case study, I will read the blog or the article, and I will even give comment on a draft if you want to write it up. And I agree with Paris. You cannot always take the real example from the company, but sometimes you can change a little bit or generalize it and come with some kind of example.
Yeah.
In 2024, I think Agile has to be done differently. It cannot be the same as 2020.
No, of course not. Of course not.
Yeah. And if we keep doing what we were doing 20 years ago, I think we are expecting different change now.
Yes,
the way things are going. Yeah.
There's a whole movement from part of Scrum and Agile, right, to the original Agile, right, to kind of come up again in terms of their practices and how they apply to to do like the different projects, how they're to real life, right? Because SAFe is kind of taking over, and a lot of us feel that SAFe is sort of like the corporate way to get people back into the old ways, right? To say like the methodical project management approach to agility, which is to me never it was the initial intent, right?
But there's also other things happening, because there's the Agile Reimagined project. There's people who think about that you maybe not going to change the Agile manifesto, but it could be time for a new manifesto that could include design thinking, lean startup, product thinking, maybe change management. So I think there may be a little fatigue, but it's also sort of an inflection point. But there is an appetite for new things, and this will fit right into it.
And that's really the soul of Agile, right? To be constantly improving, right?
Yes.
So you're exactly right. I mean,
this should be
a continuous thing.
Yeah, the trouble is we are almost at the same age, all of us in this room. But if somebody is 19 or 20 or 21, they will not agree with a lot of us. So, and they don't have patience for all of this. So the things have to change a little bit. Yeah, it has to be more practical and instant, more like instant gratification. Take a picture and you see the picture. Nobody has time to take the film and watch the film and see how it is coming. Yeah, those days are over. The patience is lost.
Yeah, but it's kind of up to us to pass the baton, though, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Otherwise, there would be no continuity. If we just give up and let them do it their way, I mean, there has to be some continuum, right?
That's why I'm changing it to change management first before you do Agile, because Agile is not going to work if you don't know change management.
Right.
Right. Anyway. Sometime check. We have 2 minutes.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. I want to appreciate all of you for bearing with me, and I hope there is something that you can take back with you and use it. Yeah. But stay in touch. I'm on LinkedIn, and then you can always link me on LinkedIn for the new and updates. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fernando, by the way, where are you, Fernando?
I'm in New Jersey. I'm central New Jersey.
Okay, me too. Whereabouts?
Where I'm in White House Station.
I'm in Morristown.
Oh, yeah,
then we should meet. I'm in Warren.
We might run into each other someday.
Yeah, right, we should meet for a beer.
Yes, we used to meet in person.
Exactly.
all days.
All right. Take care, guys.
Okay, Fernando. Thank you very much. Take care.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Night.
Bye-bye.
Okay.